All right, back. Quick turnaround time here. Told you I'd have more videos coming out, and I'm certainly trying. So this is a great drum fill by the great Jeff Porcaro that is not as popular as some of their songs, but I was recently talking to a couple friends of mine. We all graduated from Musicians Institute back in the day, a long time ago, and we still keep in touch. And we were talking about this particular album called I think it's called what's it called? I don't know what it's called. It's I'll have it up on the screen. But we were talking about this particular album by Toto, which was the last album that Jeff Porcaro played on, a studio album. And this particular song called How Many Times is on it. So it wasn't, I don't think it was that much of a success as far as on the charts and all that stuff, but it is, I think, one of their best albums. Porcaro plays great on it. It's much heavier than most of Toto stuff. Steve Lukather singing leads on it, and it's just a heavier record than I think most people. Usually when I play it for people, they don't know it's Toto. It starts off with a song called Gypsy Train, and Lukather's just killing it, and he's got that tone, that just huge tone. One of my favorite guitarists ever. And Porcaro is really playing pretty heavy on it. And there's an instrumental called Jake to the Bone, which is a cool song. He's actually playing in 7 in that one, which a friend of mine we were talking about this, said that he had read that Porcaro didn't necessarily like Odd Times that much, so it was a little interesting that he was playing in 7, but it's a great song. And again, the first song is called Gypsy Train, kind of a heavy, kind of a floor tom groove. And then this song comes up, which is a kind of a heavy ballad, sort of, but great tone. And towards the end, about the 4-minute mark, Porcaro plays this fill that's all kind of un-Porcaro-like also. So there's a lot of this album is it's just sort of an interesting one. But again, one of my favorites of all time, not just of Toto. One of my favorite albums, just a great one. And I'll tell a real quick story about Porcaro in our I forgot what class it was, but Joe Porcaro was instrumental in writing the curriculum for Musicians Institute for the drum program. So Jeff would show up there sometimes, and if you've ever seen that clip of Jeff at Musicians Institute in a classroom, that was me. I uploaded the clip a little while ago, a couple years ago, and I also featured it on my channel here, talking about the halftime shuffle, so you can find that. But it's there. Originally I put on a couple clips here and there of it, but then I put the whole. I think it's about 40 minutes of him when he came to our. I don't know if it was our playing techniques class. I don't remember the name of the class, but anyway, he was there, and one of the first things he said when he walked up was he said he was playing this paradiddle groove, and he said, maybe you guys can tell me what it is, because he goes, I didn't know. And he said it was sort of like an inverted paradiddle, and he was talking about what does it mean when you start the paradiddle sort of on the last note of the paradiddle, the last 16th of the paradiddle, and then continue it. And he was saying it's an inverted paradiddle, and Ralph Razzi, who was the teacher, phenomenal teacher, great technique, great jazz player, said, I'm not sure that there's a name for what he was playing other than he was starting the groove or the paradiddle on the 16th before. So you could watch that video if you want, but he was nice enough to let me film that, and obviously it was a thrill to have him in our class, and he goes through a lot of great things. If you have not seen that video, you should check that out. Go to I think it's a special guest, it says, and it's a halftime shuffle video that I released, and then I put the whole 40-minute Jeff Porcaro in class at the end of that. But anyway, that leads me to this, because this is interesting, because Porcaro always talks about he was around, or he did when he was in class and stuff, and Joe would talk, that he sort of helped his dad write the Joe Porcaro Drum Method, which is a book that we used a lot. Back in the day, we went through that book. It was Joe's class, so obviously we went through his book. And he talked about he would help his dad write that book. His dad would hear him play something, and he would say, what is that you're doing? And Jeff wouldn't have the sort of musical vocabulary to tell him what it was he was doing. So Joe would watch him and then write out these figures. Well, it just struck me when I transcribed this fill that basically this is a 5-stroke fill, right? A 5-stroke roll, okay? A rudimental 5-stroke roll. But he starts it on the last note of the 5-stroke roll, which made me think of all those years ago when he talked about the paradiddle, that he was starting on the last note of the paradiddle, which, by the way, is a really cool groove. If you watch that video, he plays it. But this is the same thing. So he starts this fill on beat 1, but he doesn't start a 5-stroke on beat 1. He basically starts it with I wrote this out in 16th and 32nd notes because at the tempo that it's played at, I believe this is accurate. So he starts it off with a single 16th note, and then, and you'll see the transcription, and then he starts the 5-stroke. So he starts it off with 1, then he starts the 5-stroke, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left, right. And he's done. So essentially it's first stroke, okay. Of course, you add in the amazing ability of Porcaro, his tremendous groove and everything. So and you get this great fill. So I transcribed it in sort of a basic form. The one thing I think you should pay attention to, and the one thing that I pay attention to, is where that singular note falls, or the last part of the 5-stroke roll. So if you look on the screen, you'll see that the first stroke, the right hand, is on a tom somewhere. Now, he had a fairly, not a huge drum set, but he probably had, I think he had 3 rack toms, maybe 2 floor toms. So he had a bigger set. So I'm not sure of his orchestration, but this is going to get you in the ballpark to play this fill. The first, if pay attention to where the singular note falls. So I think I have this fairly accurate. Maybe you can move it around if you want, but I think this is the essence of the fill. And the other orchestrations, as I've always said, make it your own and orchestrate. But this I think this keeps you in the Porcaro ballpark, sort of the feel. So it's tom. I use a floor tom, right? Tom, snare, tom, snare, snare. Okay? So again, it's tom, snare, tom, snare, snare. Okay? And as I demonstrate it, you'll see what I mean. So that's the idea within the 5-stroke. So again, we're going to start with a single stroke, okay? And then we're going to play a 5-stroke, okay? And then we're going to play a series of 5 strokes, 4 of them. And if we play 4 of them, we will end on beat 4. That's the fill, the best that I can figure out. There could be some nuance in there, but that's fairly close. You could get in the ballpark to the how many times fill, 4-minute mark. Tempo is not incredibly fast, but remember, these are 30-second notes, so it's going to go by fast, even though the main tempo of the song is fairly slow. Okay, so again, that's basically the fill. So now, if we move it around a little, I also put the bass drum in on those singular notes, okay? On all the singular notes, none of the doubles. Okay? That's the vibe, right? Idea with that. I'm going to try it with I don't know if I like that. But anyway, that's the idea. So you work it up slow. the first and the third singular note falls on a tom, and the other one's on the snare. Did you catch it? Okay, and that, I think, kind of gives it its feel. But it is just a 5-stroke roll. And that's basically it. Now you can move it around. I like it with like a hi-hat. And maybe a crash cymbal or whatever you want, but you could kind of make, again, you make it your own, but I always like that open hi-hat. So you could kind of move it around, and it becomes a cool thing. And remember, tempo is slow. So I might try and play it. I don't know if I'll get a copyright thing at the end of the video. We'll see. And if I could play it and we don't get a copyright, then you can hear it, and I could play along with it. But it's kind of a fast, again, 30-second notes, zips by fast, but the sticking, right? 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. Okay, one more time. Remember, the 30-second notes, we're doubling them. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. And that's where we get. Okay, so awesome fill. Porcaro, just a legend, one of my favorites, and this is doable. And you work on your 5 strokes. And so on, and then eventually, you turn it into a fill. But 5 strokes are great. Matter of fact, I just did, not that long ago, I did the video on the Chicago song that I think Beginnings has a really nice. It has a nice 5-stroke in that also. I forgot. I don't even remember, but it's a few videos back. It's a Chicago fill. I think it's in Beginnings, but that's cool. So there's another example of the 5-stroke. And the Porcaro book is a great book for a lot of rudimental drumming worked around the drums. I spent a lot of time in my drum lab working on the Jeff Porcaro book. And there's probably a newer one out now. Obviously, Jeff or Joe Porcaro died a few years back, but great guy, and the whole Porcaro family seemed like a great family. So, so there you go. Have fun with this one. How many times? Don't forget the bass drum. You could omit it if you want. You could keep it in. It's up to you. I usually it makes it bigger. I put that in on the singular notes. Practice, practice, practice. Great fill. Have fun with it. The great Jeff Porcaro. And yeah, last studio album. I'll put it up on the screen because for some reason I can't remember the title of the album, but you will see it up there. And there you go. Practice, practice, practice. 5-stroke rudiment. I think. I mean, rudiments. We should be practicing rudiments, right? So there you go. Have fun with it. See you next time.